Hey there, everyone. Welcome to How and Why to Use Video in Webinars. My name is James Hilliard. I'm with Hilliard Productions, joined by Ken Mollet from Webinar Success. We both want to thank the GoToWebinar team for inviting us here for a little chat, share with you some of our opinions about the use of video in webinars. And the first thing we wanted to tackle, Ken, is the fact that video makes some changes to the presenters. It's a different dynamic.
It certainly is a different dynamic. As presenters, there are so many things we have to be aware of just when doing any type of presentation to a local audience or using voice and slides, narration. And then when you add video to it, there are additional considerations that can help you be more effective, more powerful at communicating your message. And that, I think, is the real joy and power of adding video to a webcast or webinar.
One thing that presenters want to think about is their environment. You see my environment. We did a kind of a casual desk-type office environment. You are in a kind of a more studio environment, which would be great for demonstrating and showing things, not a lot of distractions in your background.
Exactly, and the choice, of course, is up to the presenter and up to the application that you're trying to use it for. We thought it would be nice to show you that. You can see that James has a small earpiece. I have the geeky looking headset. And again, it would be appropriate for different kinds of applications.
And you really do need to, one of the things to think about as a presenter using video, what is your audience expecting, right? Know your audience. I think that goes to part of that planning. Speaking of the audience, what impact, Ken, your top one or two, do you think that video has for audiences watching?
Well, audiences have become used to seeing things in video. We've become a very video-oriented society. We have television, we have movies, and now we have video everywhere on the internet. And so being able to offer that as a part of your communication strategy as a business, I think is important, just to show that you are providing people with what they expect. As we were saying again, it also produces that extra layer of personality and personability, showing that you're really there, that you're connecting with your audience in a way that just isn't quite as personal and interconnected when you're talking about slides and voice alone.
Let's talk about applications, why and when you might use video. A dialogue, I think, is one great example because it shows two people interacting. You can see some nods. You can see some other engagement with the two presenters. What are some other use cases that you think video is really geared towards?
Well, let's start with stepping up that dialogue situation to even more people. As you start getting into panel discussions, if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 people, especially if they're all male voices, it gets very, very confusing for an audience, whereas they can see who's talking. It adds to the understanding and adds to the power of the communications. But you can look at so many different applications. You have business communications, whether those are going out to members of the press, whether they're going to industry analysts, whether they are messages to the financial community from a CFO. Perhaps it's messages internally to your employee base. People want to see the CEO and get a sense that that person is really there and talking to them. You have demonstrations, whether it's a sales demonstration to a prospective customer or whether it's talking to existing customers. And then you have the classic lead generation marketing kinds of applications. And all of those, I think, benefit from the ability to add that additional layer of communications.
You brought up the idea, use case of like demonstrating something, and it's great to be able to show something to people. Sometimes it's fine to go ahead and describe, hey, we've got this new widget, and it does this and that, and maybe you can show some slides. But if you can actually show how big the widget is, what it actually does, that can have a big, powerful impact on an audience.
It absolutely does. Let's say that I am a product manager for a toy company, and I say we have a new toy that we want to show you. It has some interesting features. There are things that you can set off to make actions occur. Well, that sounds very academic, but if I pick up that toy, and here you can see the blue screen used very nicely. Here we have a James Bond Aston Martin, and what's exciting about this is there's an ejector seat that can actually open up, and in back there is a bullet deflector that can pop up. And when you see that happening in real time as the person's talking about it, and I can show it at different angles very easily, it has much more power than a simple slide display.
Absolutely. Ken, you and I have been doing this for many years, and slides have always been a big part of webinars. People spend lots of time, money, effort on creating those great PowerPoints. They've been, over the years, perfecting their delivery, their audio, speaking on these webinars. Some folks might say, I'm not interested in video. What would you say to someone like that?
I would say that you might want to start thinking about how can I add this incrementally? Instead of saying, oh, I'm going to throw away slides and just do a TV broadcast, why don't you look at starting a webcast and say, hi there, this is who's talking. And I'm going to be looking at your comments coming in. I don't want to be looking off screen all the time, so I'm going to turn off my camera. And then you can do the rest of it in that fashion that you're more comfortable with. Or you could say, when we go to Q&A towards the end of a session, let me turn my camera on then so that I'm talking directly to you and you can see that I'm responding. So it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. It can be an additional tool in your bag of tricks that makes you more effective at being a good communicator.
And as with any tool, it takes some practice, takes a little bit of planning. Ken and I both think if you put a little bit of time and effort into planning your environment, clothes you're going to wear, what the sound sounds like coming from your microphone or your headset, do a little planning there, get used to using the tool, video in this case. It'll go a long way in kind of moving some of your webcasts forward, adding that video element. As Ken mentioned, a lot of us are now expecting when we're logging on and getting information. So Ken, really appreciate the time. Again, Ken Mollet is with Webinar Success. My name is James Hilliard. I'm with Hilliard Productions. We want to thank the GoToWebinar team. If you want to learn more about video and webinars, and you can definitely head online to GoToWebinar.com. With that, we're going to wrap things up. We both look forward to talking to you all down the road.